Happy Friday. It is Frank Day Friday, breakout day, fun day, whatever you want to call it here on our Tackle Trading Halftime Report. We've got Coach Frank, Coach Cody, and myself. Tim is here. And Frank, markets are breaking out again. In fact, we're up above 3,100. We'll get down to all the analysis here in just a minute. But how are you doing, my friend?
Doing great. Thank you. Always great to be here. Good to see the halftime crew as always. I just want to say that ever since Friday Frank Day came around, you realize the market does just continue to break out, right? Now, that could be a coincidence.
Is that the correlation?
It could be, but it might not be. So we'll just leave that there.
So is it correlation or causation?
I'm not smart enough to figure it out. I just think the market likes Friday Frank Days, and I don't blame it. I enjoy them as well.
Yeah.
You know what I can tell you that as I do see this, though, is I don't think the market cares one iota about what's happening on the hill right now.
Yeah. Cody, put your science away and just buy the breakout. You're trying to make this too smart here. I don't need correlation, causation debates and what the clarity of all of that is. Here we are. Markets are breaking out. By the way, impeachment hearings continue on Capitol Hill. The market doesn't care. Baba is IPOing in Hong Kong. We're going to look at that stock. There's a mailbag section we have on our Fridays where we're going to answer some questions. And I think we've got some really good ones that we've curated to talk about at the end of the show. If you've got something you want us to answer directly from the chat, just pop it in about, top of the hour usually is when we get into that. But let's start with the broad market here. Frank, on the daily chart, obviously, we just broke 3,100. And it's one of those things like Coach Keith, would say this, hold your nose and buy. Right. Is that where you're at with the market right now? Range up. We've run a long ways, but it's still now hitting new highs.
I'm not going to hold my nose. I'm going to smile and buy.
There you go.
In a lot of ways, we kind of reset over the last, week and a half. We've not done much until today. We've kind of been riding, high, but not really going anywhere. So, I will kind of consider that little mini consolidation as the breather that we needed.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, the market on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday was bumping up against 3,100. And I think, Cody, are you running charts here today?
I am the one running charts. What can I do for you?
Do a quick multi-time frame analysis. Pull back to the weekly, back on the daily, and then down to the intraday. And let's talk about the significance of this move, if there is significance to it. I'm looking at the weekly chart, guys, and we're definitely breaking out of that higher kind of pennant almost. If you draw a line,
it was kind of making a wedge pattern almost, but it just never finished it. It just broke out of that.
It broke out of that wedge. Yeah. I mean, in fact, draw me an upper trend line, Cody, starting in 2018 when the trade war hit, connecting the tops of those markets, bringing it all the way up here. And the significance of a breakout up here, Frank, I'm not sure how to read this. Does this mean momentum is increasing? Does that mean that pattern has failed? Are we now just in clear sailing bull market? What's your read on the weekly?
That's my take. That is my take. It was a very clearly defined top over several months. Tyler and I talked about it last week when we took the keys to the kingdom and had fun. So we had some interesting intros, but we had a good time. But that was such a, in many ways, the market didn't do anything for a year and a half, right? And that's reflected in those tops. We moved a heck of a lot, but it was pent up. And so I'm looking at that breakout itself as the most clear signal that the market is giving us right now. So for me, I'm just looking at this. Hey, if it pulls back, would that make some sense? And yeah, absolutely. And I think we would be looking to buy any dips personally, at least, into that old breakout point. I don't necessarily expect that to happen, but that would be on the table on the weekly time frame. I'm just looking at this, especially the swing trader in me is just saying, let's roll with it. The bulls are in charge. They, end the week strong. There's still a couple of hours, so anything could happen, but most likely we're going to end this day pretty strong, with the candle looking pretty close to what it's looking right now. So I'm not going to think too much about it. We're breaking out of we broke out of a breakout is how I'm looking at a little consolidation off of the original breakout. So for me, I'm liking where it's at.
Yeah, I like it where it's at as well.
When is the historic running with the bulls in Spain? Because you just said running with the bulls, and it immediately made me think of these bulls are running. They have complete control of the market. They've taken over. They don't care what's in their way. They're just going to knock it out.
Okay. Now my brain is real simple. When you said running with the bulls, I thought of running with the devil. Now I just want to listen to rock music. That's what I want to do on a Friday here in my office. Trade this breakout. Yeah.
I thought about the old Jordan, Pippen, Horace Grant, Dennis Rodman, Chicago Bulls that were always beating up the Jazz. That's what I thought when I hear running with the Bulls.
Hey, listen, in my opinion, still the greatest dynasty of all time. That's my take.
I would agree 100%. And anyone who disagrees, let's just say they're wrong.
I think
you're wrong.
The running the bulls is an event that involves running in front of a small group of cattle, typically 6, but sometimes 10 or more, that have been let loose in a festival in the summertime. So I'm not sure what time. I'm sure we have halftime crew that's actually been there. I know Noah actually did a religious mission in Spain probably 20, 30 years ago, and I know he knows a little bit about that. So we'll have to get Coach Noah on that one, Cody, and answer. It's a good question.
I personally would not get in front of the bulls that are running, and I'm not going to try to pick a top on this one. I'm not going to get in front of it. I'm going to join it.
I'm with you. So that you went that whole way just to make that one joke.
Yes.
I like it. Down to an intraday chart here, Cody, because to me, 3,100 was significant this week. In multi-time frame analysis on the weekly, we're breaking out of that upper wedge, very significant in my opinion. On the daily, things are looking great. Big, strong candle with good volume behind it. On the intraday here, Frank, we've got just breakouts. Even right now, in the last hour, we've had a breakout here at 3,100. There's really nothing in front of this market right now. Now, does that mean it's going to run to 3,200 without a pause? I don't know about that. No. But we're just strong. Where are you putting us on the yard marker? I know we got to rank this later in the day.
I'll just push it up 5 from where I had it last week. I don't remember exactly what number I was. I'm usually a little lighter than the rest or most of the other coaches. 30 is really bullish to me. 25 is really, really bullish to me. And I think I was at 25 last week. So I guess that would push me even further. So, it's like you said, when.
Whoa, you were at 25 last week? Frank, calm down.
Well, I have no choice. I have to keep upgrading because the longer we hold the break and then you see a candle like this, how do you not upgrade it? And so, well, I never really like to be that, I guess I'm not that bullish or that bearish really ever in some ways. How do you not upgrade, and I have to. I think the charts reflect that.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's an upgrade. There's no question about it, just how far. And I know you're a very conservative ranker, which I actually appreciate because you don't want to be making radical decisions about where you're putting these markers. You shouldn't go from the 25 to the 5. You shouldn't go from the 25 to the negative 25 on one given week either. That would be very, very rare to see a market condition that would force you to do that. So 5 or a 10 yard upgrade seems appropriate. We'll break it all down in the newsletter this weekend. Back on the daily charts, let's go through all the indexes here. S&P, then the Dow, the NASDAQ, and the Russell. And Frank, just tell me if you see anything different between them. Because to me, obviously, we've been saying this for a month now, the Dow and the NASDAQ are almost identical to the S&P. Take your pick, which one you like the best, right? And then the Russell has some differences. What are you seeing in the broad indexes?
A lot of strength in the exciting things, continue to be another just monster run for healthcare this week. So we continue to see strength in the more aggressive areas. We did get a little breather in some of the more boring areas this week too. They sold off a little bit last week, but kind of caught a little footing. But we're seeing good strength. Now over in the RUT, that is still a much different chart. Like Tim said, ranked 1, 2, 3, S&P, NASDAQ, Dow, and I don't think there's ever going to be much argument however you choose to rank it. The RUT just continues to fight. And I do expect if the market continues to run, the RUT will ultimately break out. Those are my expectations, but take it from a breakout trader. You haven't broke until you've broke. And then we have not broke as of yet.
That's right. Yeah. It's not broken out yet. And for whatever reason, in fact, Mark just keeps saying, we've got to get some experts on here to talk about why small caps are not running. Because usually in a big bull market, small caps actually lead the charge. If you go back and you look at the correlation, Cody, we're going to make that the word of the day here on Friday Fun Day. The correlation between small caps and large caps, usually when the large caps do like 10%, small caps are like 15, when the large caps have a year like this year where they're up 20, 25%, small caps have had years where they're up 30, 35%. So we're not seeing that. It's really a head scratcher. This is one of the areas of the stocks that is a head scratcher. Frank, any idea on that? Do you have any take on that?
The easiest explanation I have is we started lower. We started this bounce at support. Mm-hmm. And so we've really cleanly ran from support to resistance. So if we just zoomed in the last couple of months since we started moving up, that looks like, wow, we're really moving, right? So when we put in the larger context, we are in more of a range. And so I'm sure that's not the whole thing, and probably smarter people than me have better answers. But I think the most simple explanation is we started lower, and so that's for me, at least, that's how I look at it. Some of these things have been really beat up on trade war stuff over the last little while too. Some of these small caps have been hit on that side, but I don't think that's a huge explanation.
Give me a chart on the dollar. Let's go through the currency markets, then commodities. Then we're going to get into some individual company news as well. Dollar kind of bumping its head, turning back down here. It's still on the weekly chart in the same pattern that we've seen for a year and a half now, in my opinion. Daily charts are noisy here. In fact, if I have to rank this, and I'm going to have to rank it as a coach of tackle trading, we all do that every Friday. I don't know anywhere off of the 50. I mean, if I went negative 45, probably just so I don't take the cowards ranking, it's probably where I'm going to be. Cody, I'm going to get your analysis first. You're my Forex guy, the Forex kid. What do you see here, Cody?
I'm seeing the W pattern with the then break of the W pattern, retracement into that. We want to look to see a doji possibly come right around in this range where we're seeing this old resistance, which just happens to also be where that 20-day moving average is coming into. So right in this area is really, we have to look at it probably Sunday morning, Monday, or Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening through Monday, see what it does there. Because if we get this thing continuing down, then, this could be a continuation of a bearish pattern. If we get a doji and then reversal back up, then that makes us more bullish. So there's actually, I lean more bullish on the US dollar just because of the fundamentals behind it. It's the least ugly of the bunch. And I really want to see that doji happen first, and then from there move to the upside. So I'm probably going to be about the 40 on the US dollar.
Frank, I don't know if you picked up on what I picked on, but that was Cody's bias showing. He wants to short the euro. And so he's trying to find anything he can in that chart to make him feel confident to short the euro.
You're telling me you don't see the W breakout reversal here?
I see it, but I also see a mess. I mean, it's our bias, right? I mean, you have to be able to step back and say, okay, what's the case for the bulls and the bears? And yes, on price confirmation.
I'm neutral, leaning bullish. I'm not bullish on it. I'm not putting this thing on the 20 where the S&P is going. Like, don't get me wrong there. This thing is slightly bullish. It's not overall strong bullish.
Thou doth protest too much, young man. I'm just
the textbook need a doji to validate that claim.
C'est la vie.
Yeah, there you go. Doji confirmation breakout. By the way, bring up the euro dollar cross pair, because I already know this chart is the most traded Forex pair in the world, and it's also a very clean chart. So if you're trading foreign currencies, I'm sure a pivot back to the downside, you probably made some money shorting the euro in the last couple of weeks, I'm guessing. And so more confirmation, more entry points could be there. I just don't think I would do it above that support pivot at about 1.09 and change, whatever that pivot put in yesterday. What was the tail on that candle?
The tail on the candle yesterday? Tail on the candle yesterday, the low was 109.887.
Yeah, I mean, could you map out a trade where it dojis at 111 and then pivots and confirms? Sure, but that's a ways out for me, and I'm not worried about it too much. We'll see. We'll keep coming back to it
quickly. We'll see.
Yeah. All right. Okay, back on currencies, back on the dollar here for a minute. Give me the weekly chart. So you're on the positive 40. I think that's fine. I think a 50-yard market makes sense in the short term. It just comes down to how you rank it, obviously. Longer term, it's the best of a bad bunch. We've been saying that for a long time. Any analysis on the currency markets here, Frank?
Nope, not at all. It is smack dab in the middle. You could make a slight case either way. So if Cody would have said I'm slightly bearish, I've been like, cool. So the cowards rating is the rating that I've had on the dollar for a while now. I'll continue to have no shame and continue to show the cowards rankings.
I like it. Commodities here, guys. Crude oil, natural gas, gold, the major ones. And we've been talking about these charts every day as a part of our daily routine. Crude oil still neutral, slightly bullish, little itty bitty breakout here. Now, I don't buy crude oil breakouts into the weekend. I just don't. So it's not going to be an entry I take here on a Friday, Frank. But there is some interesting patterns in that chart. Are you on just the neutral side of this, slightly bullish? What's your read?
I'm still pretty neutral to the bullish neutral, I guess, right now, but I would not object to somebody looking to play this break. Much like you, I think Monday would be a much better day to try to play into that. We do have a little bit of room that probably fits better into an intraday type of philosophy than a swing philosophy. You know, we do have some space though until we start to get into that resistance zone that you have drawn there. We have seen some bullish characteristics shorter term develop, but overall we still are pretty neutral. So it's one of those. That break, I will expect price appreciation. I do expect if we break that resistance that we're working and maybe testing that $60 area. Is that enough to trade? Well, I guess that's up to you and up to me. I would argue no, unless it's intraday.
The probability of it touching 60 at some point in the next month is fairly high. Wouldn't you agree with that?
I would, especially based off of what we've done the last 2 weeks and how we're shaping up going into next week now with today's candle.
Yeah, I see that as well. And so bull put spread still makes sense to me. You know, even though it's a green candle today on confirmation, you don't get the same credit on a green candle, but you get the price confirmation. So there's a trade-off if you're a theta trader. I don't know if I'll put a new one on today. I don't think I will. I've kind of already gone through my routine and I'm pretty disciplined with that. You know, I'm not looking for new entries usually by this time of day on a Friday, but here we are. If I had to lean on one side of it, Cody, it would be the bull side still, you know?
Oh, absolutely. I've been selling credit spreads on this probably since back here when we got this W and this big candle there. That's when I started looking to sell credit spreads, and I just keep selling them below 50.
Yeah.
I'm very happy. Actually, I think my favorite one was I got a fill at 5 cents down at 41. I was extremely happy about that one.
I bet you were.
I think it was on one of these days. I think it was the long wick just came down, filled me in, and then it popped back up, and I was like, I'm happy.
The harder question for me is, do you do the bear call side? Because we keep saying neutral, but I see some upside risk too.
Yeah, I think for me at least, we don't until we generate some sort of sell signals. And so, you know, as we approach 60, if we start to see some intraday sell signals, some crossover on short-term moving averages, breaks of failed pivots, absolutely, I think that can make sense. But as we are today, I would argue no. If you made me do something, I'd feel really uncomfortable about short-term speaking being a bear.
You know, that's very interesting that you asked that because I literally was looking yesterday at if I wanted to put on the bear call side onto any of these. I was running the numbers and I decided not to, but I had that same thought. It's like, okay, maybe if I get something to fill above like 64 possibly, but even then I was like, not worth it.
Yeah, it's a tougher one. I think you do need some kind of weakness or maybe at resistance or something like that. You don't have to chase both sides of a trade just to generate more credit. In fact, I think theta traders tend to try to get into that neutral position a little too quick in general. I don't know. I mean, there will be an opportunity at some point to add the bear call when and where and if. It's not today for me personally. I'm with you, Frank, and I'm with you, Cody. Wait for a little bit better signal. I'll tell you what is a great signal, though, is natural gas. Talk about the, analysis of the week. We've been breaking this down day over day over day over day. We've been talking about where this confirmation comes in here. Is this confirmation, boys?
Yes, technically, I don't like natural gas over the weekend, though, ever. It can have some big gaps over the weekend, as you guys all know. And so for me, it would be depending on how we open on Sunday.
Frank doesn't like staying warm.
I don't. I'm a cold-blooded person. I sleep in the winter in Utah with my window open. It is true. But natty gas can really gap on the weekends. It really, really can, which, it's very uncomfortable for me. You know, I'm boring. I'm dull. You guys know that. If this is, carries over into next week without some crazy gap one way or the other, very interested. But for me, it's just a rule. I don't buy into natty gas going into the weekend personally.
Yeah. I think that's really sound advice for these commodities in many regards. Now, if you're holding a 60-day credit spread or something like that, obviously you can't avoid the weekend if you've already been in.
Right.
It's not like you're going to roll out every Friday and back in on Mondays. But I think if you're making new entry points, there is volatility in the weekend. In fact, back on crude oil for a second, remember that gap happened on a Monday. That big upward gap that took off, that was over the weekend news, came in on a Monday, and then boom, there we were. So I think it's good advice. Go to gold and some of the metals here. We keep working through the markets. We're having a really, really good time here, as always, by the way.
Of course. Yeah,
and if you're watching the show right now, just in the chat, just pop in #Team Tackle. That's what we always put in there. We're a team here. We're a community. That's kind of what we promote. That's what we believe in. Gold. I'm telling you, this thing's shaping up exactly how my mind thought it would. You don't always get them right, but a little breakdown, backfill, pivot, hesitating right here at that old support point, Frank. I still think it's going to come up and test 1500 personally, and I think it's going to come up into those moving averages and really test that range and that falling trend line. Cody, draw me a trend line starting at 1566, connect the pivot highs and bring it all the way down.
Let's get this one out of here.
Sure.
All right.
And Frank, tell me what you see in that chart.
I'm good. That's a little bit high on that.
There you go. I see something that is really tough if you're a gold bull right now, because you could easily argue that this is a bearish retracement. We're one candle away from confirmation. And from a technical point of view, I will make that argument. I'm not going to be looking to go bearish on gold, but I do expect once we see downward movement, I kind of on the other end, although I wouldn't be surprised if we ran into those averages, the retracement isn't done yet. We certainly don't have confirmation. I expect that we do have one more attempt to the short side at the very least, especially if the market continues to stay as hot as it has been. I think this is a tough place. Still okay from a cash flow point of view, but I see sell signals. I see more reasons to sell short term, technically, not fundamentally. Still, that's always the tough thing for me and a lot of other coaches. I think with gold is I see bear, but I have a bias, like so many of you guys do. And so, but I do think you have to respect where we're at on the price side of things. I do expect we failed at support. We're making lower highs and lower lows. Could we rally further? Absolutely. And it wouldn't be surprising at all. Could it trigger on Monday? I wouldn't be surprised either. I'm not really interested in it, but I wouldn't be surprised. And those are my expectations.
Cody, draw me a line at 1500 and a line, let me do the math here, at 1435. 1435. We're at 1467 and change right now. So a move up to 1500 would be about 32 points. 1435 would be, if I'm doing my math right, that's about 32 points down. So here's a game of would you rather, or which one do you think is going to happen first? What is more likely for us to test 1435 or 1500 first? Cody, you first.
1435.
That's interesting.
Off the technical analysis that you're saying, I do see this as a 3 candle pivot as possibly a lower low. I see the 1480 as a possible. I mean, it could maybe have a day up there, but from what I'm seeing, just from the technical analysis, I'm seeing a bias to the downside.
Yeah, Frank, and I think you're on the bear side of that too, right?
Yeah, if I had to trade it short term, I would say let's go with an out of the money bear call. So.
And I think my bias is showing here. I am long gold and I like gold, and so probably I'm maybe even seeing it with rose-colored glasses. I think that 1500 is in play here, so it's going to be interesting. I see everything you guys are seeing. By the way, a little 3 candle hesitation, red candle. If you confirmed on Monday, a technician would tell you to short, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's no doubt about it. Interesting. More analysis on gold next week. We'll keep breaking these things down. By the way, Coach Mark every Saturday does a live commodity report show where he actually breaks down all the commodities in the market, give you analysis and kind of what he's seeing and whatnot.
Yeah, that's really cool.
We don't talk about silver nearly enough, but to me, that's a even shortable chart, even more bearish chart that you're seeing where it's already below resistance. That I'm seeing as a low base or even a bear flag here on silver.
Yeah, but pull back on the weekly. I mean, here's what it comes down to with these metals is how you're going to trade them. If you're swing trading, I'm with you. I mean, any of these pullbacks here from a weekly perspective, those moving averages are rolling in and developing into some kind of trend. I don't know if it's going to happen this year in November and December, but I think silver's setting itself up for some bullishness for some longer term stuff.
I would agree with that. And that's where I am on silver and gold as well, is let this happen. I'm leaving it alone. It's not a great trading environment, in my opinion, in either of those metals right now. Sure, you can always cash flow, right? But directionally speaking, it's too choppy. I'm not interested in that. But I do agree with you, Tim. I think that as we get into, and I kind of expect it to be more next year, although I could be dead wrong. So I do expect we'll get some really nice opportunities a little down the road. I say patience is the name of the game there.
Yeah. Individual companies I want to talk about. If you guys have any, you can pop them in there as well. Alibaba, I want to start here. Now, they've been in the news a lot for years, quite frankly. They're a juggernaut. They've been a huge growth company for a long time. But in the last week or so, They had that, 11, 11, 11 or whatever that was. I keep forgetting the name of that event where they sold like $38
Yeah,
billion
whatever.
worth of
Yeah.
product. The ones day or whatever it
$40
was.
billion in one day.
That's crazy. I mean, that's
And
just
actually,
crazy.
I want to say, like, to put that in perspective, didn't Saudi Aramco did like 30 billion in like the third quarter or something like that, and Alibaba beat them in one day. Like that's
But Aramco's might have been revenue or profit.
and that was
I'd
just
have
sales.
to I'd have to look at the number. Yeah, I don't know how much profit they made off the 40 billion in sales because that was kind of the nature
Still,
of the
to be
event.
able to cycle inventory and cycle like anything 40 billion like that.
Dude, they're the biggest online retailer in China, and China has like 1.2 billion people. I get it. And they're not the only country that uses Alibaba's services. This company is an interesting one. And I also saw Kudlow's statements recently. We're starting to see a year and a half in on this trade war to where the market's kind of taking the blows and the negativity and not really looking at it. They think there's going to be resolution. Here's my big question, guys. Is this a target for you guys for bullishness over the next couple of months to maybe even into 2020? Because if you look daily chart, I don't love it. I think there's noise here. I'm not saying swing trade, but this has been a fundamentally strong stock, Frank, that I have targeted for years. And for whatever reason, well, the trade war is the reason, it's kind of been off my radar now for a year or so. Is it time to bring this one back onto the radar?
That's a tough question. I mean, I wouldn't argue against it for one second, but I've never really loved the way that they move. Personally, I can't help the swing trader in me is the dominant personality, and so the long-term investor is there, but price action and how stocks behave. I've never, and I understand this 100% a me thing. I don't like their behavior. So I probably won't be putting it on a personal watch list. I do get the argument. They're a little choppier. Once they get a nice clean trend, then we can start talking. But until then, I'm not at a loss of candidates to work with, both short and long term. And so I think we all, whether it's you might think I'm an idiot for not liking Baba, and that's probably fair, but we can be picky. We can afford to be picky in this market, and I think we should be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Bob, I think being picky is always a good mindset, by the way, in the longer term view of your life as a trader. You're going to be doing this forever. You should be picky. I mean, you don't have to take every trade. Give me a weekly chart on this one, Cody. There were years, I'm talking 17 and 18, and even before that, when this was one of the hottest stocks in the market. If you're new to trading in the last year, you might be thinking, well, Tim, this one's never been on my radar. Well, yeah, it's been stuck in a range, stuck in the mud there for a long time. I'm getting there. It's on a long-term watch list. I'll just tell you that right now. I haven't pulled the trigger on anything. I still don't think I will until I see more clarity from this big picture, but I'm going to keep watching this one. Cody, what's your read on this?
My read on Alibaba is a little bit biased because I've always had my eye on it as a cash flow type vehicle. So what I like to do is I like to sell my out of the money spreads on it and play it that way. That way it avoids any of the gapping personality disorder that this stock definitely has. It avoids any of the trade disputes. Now, this is one that maybe I need to go to marital counseling with because I've been struggling to have a good relationship with Baba for a while. Yeah. For instance, this breakout right here, I started trusting Baba a little bit more, and then Baba hurt me. So I might need to have some counseling on it. But honestly, I do like where this is going. Going back to that weekly, I can see all this previous noise back here at 200. So I mean, if we can get past and have this retracement continue after this, successful breakout now and get up to 195, then I think 200 is the next target. But a little bias in there because we have a lot of noise and choppiness around 190 has to get to first. So there's a lot of stuff going on here. I think the easiest way to play Baba is not necessarily directionally. I think it's to do what I've been doing and just sell some credit spreads out of the money. Yeah.
All right. We'll keep looking at this one over time, I'm sure. Probably the prudent thing to do is leave it off your trade list until there's more clarity out of that trade war, because that's still one of the biggest risks. And the gappiness and the weirdness of the way it trades is also significant. And it's not going to change. Today's news on Baba, they're listing some of their shares in Hong Kong. One of the reasons why it gaps, Frank, is because it's traded all over the world. And a 24-hour market, it's going to move it around a little bit. There's
wasn't it something like at like $25 or something like that. I was like, that's not fair. I want to buy Baba at $24 and a penny.
There's
Now, I don't know
never
what
free
currency. I don't know
money.
what currency that's in.
Yeah, kid, listen, I'm going to give you a life lesson. There is no free lunch. Okay. The market is not going to give you $160 of free value in Baba just because you buy it
I assume
in Hong Kong.
Yeah, I assume the exchange rate
There's-
is probably what it is. But I saw that and I was just instantly like, man. But of course, I understand the exchange rates.
All right. All right.
Work
So
my
more
thing.
stocks I want to talk about. AMAT, Applied Materials. We could have led with this one, by the way.
Yeah.
Tackle 25 stock chip maker. We keep talking about which chip maker to buy. Just buy them all. It feels like this year, Frank. That's not always the case, but chips have been strong. Applied Materials earnings reaction up 9%. You can't chase up here, but what a strong move out of the chart. What do you do after a post earnings, Frank? Just stick it on a watch list, wait for it for a couple of weeks. How do you usually plan for something like this?
Well, there's a few different ways. Cisco is my favorite thing on earnings, just to kind of explain that. When a stock gaps directly into major support or resistance, which Cisco did yesterday, gapping down into support and has to make that call right out of the gates, you're waking up drinking your coffee and thinking this is breaking support. Am I buying or am I selling? That's my the only thing I'm comfortable doing the day of earnings is that breaking resistance, or in the case of Cisco here, breaking support the day of. Now we didn't get that in AMAT, believe me, I checked this morning, so it did not happen. So in these scenarios, I want something to develop, and a lot of times it is not a couple of weeks. I basically want to develop a new top. Chop a little bit, and then the break of whatever ultimately ends up being the top. If it's just one of the, gap and runners, I never catch those, never, because I am way too wimpy to buy this today. But if we, have a little doji party at the beginning of next week, kind of develop a little bit of a top and then break through that, I think that's actually a very strong short-term technical signal. So that's what I look for. And it's not a time thing. It can be 3 days. It can be 3 weeks.
Sure. Yeah, no, I'm with you as well. Roku continues to dominate. I don't know. This company is going to end up frustrating me so much because I should have made a lot of money and I haven't made a damn dime on this thing. I just keep watching it run and I'm just like, just shaking my head. Just shaking my head at the percentage moves day over day and the amount of volume and the size. I mean, we're talking about one of the most traded stocks in the market, Frank, on a day by day basis.
Yep.
Here we are. What's the volume today, Cody? Like, give me an actual count. 20.
Let me see. Volume today looks like we are at 18 million.
18 million shares.
444.
They're trading 20 million shares at $150 a share, Frank. It's crazy.
It's crazy. It is. It's not crazy that it's doing it. It's crazy that it's one of the biggest in the market. I mean, it's just Roku. I remember when my first Roku box. I didn't know how to use it, but I liked it.
Yeah,
it's impressive.
If it is not on your watch list out there, Team Tackle, you got to at least add it to a volatility watch list. What a wild stock. We'll keep coming back to it. DHR Danaher actually had a real nice day here today, 3.8% up. Frank, this one, I didn't catch the news on this. This is gapping back into the range. What happened here on DHR?
Yeah, I did not see what happened on DHR because its chart is tough to trade. So when it's because of that gap and now we're kind of in chop town, I have time. So I didn't have to run off and try to figure it out. But it doesn't, I didn't see anything crazy that was happening on here.
Probably an upgrade. When I see a non-earnings gap like that, that's usually an upgrade.
We've got some clear tops though that we got to contend with. And so we have time to figure out what it means or what it doesn't mean, I think.
Yeah,
a big part of it had been sitting on that, that support level coinciding with the 200, for a long time. So
I got it here. It's splitting off a portion of its company, which is going to make a profit on the sale. That kind of news, it's nice if you're a shareholder. As a trader, I still see noise here. There's nothing there, right?
Agreed. And as an investor, you like that. As a trader, it's just smack. You're going to buy $2 from resistance because I'm not.
No, I am not either. And one stock on the red actually today I want to look at is NVIDIA. I don't know if you saw this one, guys, down 2.5% here. And NVIDIA, just a huge company. NVDA.
Sorry, I had a brain fart there.
Now, this is a post earnings kind of move here, and it's not it's not going to throw me off of a bull rating on this, Frank, but it does change your triggers, obviously. We're now about $7.50 or $7.15, I should say, away from a trigger up here above a breakout. Are you still going to be a breakout trader on a stock like this, or would you play a pullback if it was a deep pullback?
No, once you show weakness, you go into the breakout list. So right now we've seen some weakness, heavy selling, taking out short-term average again, wimpy conservative approach. I understand that, but now there's some chinks in the armor, right? Really, breakout would make me feel okay. That was just a noisy day, which it probably the most likely thing is it's just a noisy nonsense day, right? Because that's usually the most likely thing. And so it becomes the pullback would be a little steeper now, a little more violent than I would like it to be. So for me, whenever something like this happens, it immediately I'm still interested, but you have to break. That usually is how I'm looking at things anyway. But
Yeah.
certainly when I see signs of weakness.
It's lunchtime, so I'm going to make everybody hungry right now. Grubhub actually announced a deal with Shake Shack, GRUB here. And Grubhub's an interesting one from a price, volume, and options perspective. The chart is just bear, 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 bear. There's no doubt about it. Any gap up or any run here, you're now above the gap down point. So add some complexity in the chart. There's no question about it, but still squarely in the bear camp here, guys. I mean, there's nothing would you play a reversal gap here? I wouldn't.
No,
No.
I wouldn't. Not with the development that it's had. I mean, if it pulls back to support and then breaks that gap 2 months from now, sure.
Tim, I want to try to play that reversal with your money.
That's right.
So
Thank you, Cody. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I've been watching them for a retracement. They've continued to drift to the upside. I'll still, when they break that little intraday trend that they've now put together over the last several weeks, when that thing gives out, I'll still be looking at it from a potentially a bearish perspective. I still have them in my bearish retracement watch list, just never really any signals. I thought we were actually going to get a signal. We had the one candle and just downward movement for confirmation last week, just never happened.
Yeah. Then Aurora Cannabis, ACB, another one of these pot stocks, marijuana, medical marijuana, whatever. I mean, if you're sensitive about how I name your company, you should get more focused on your chart. I got to tell you that. The stocks are getting crushed this year. ACB was one of these very popular companies last, even in the earlier this year, Frank.
Yeah.
I remember they had Icon coming in and some other investors. I can't even remember the names. Some billionaires coming in saying, hey, we're going to buy. Well, those billionaires were wrong as well. These stocks are getting destroyed this year. Another example this week of earnings missed in this sector. Is there a single one of these companies that you're targeting at all, guys? I mean, I know both, Cody, I know you watch Kronos and some of the others, but I'm just seeing negative news this week, particularly
I'm
over
I'm
and
short,
over
I'm
and
short
over.
this sector. I'm short the sector just because there's got to be an easy joke in there. The people who stated the price of what to launch these companies at must have been smoking the product, because they listed this thing too high, and it's just, as common sense is hitting them, the stock's coming down.
I got to tell you, kid, I'm no Dave Chappelle, but when you say there's got to be an easy joke in there and then you keep going for it and try to find it and then you still don't get a laugh, there clearly was not an easy joke in there.
Well, there was, Tim. It was just at Cody's expense.
That's fine.
I put that joke on the negative 10-yard marker, as Mark would say. There's no doubt about it. Frank, are you short the pot stocks here?
Oh, yeah. And there's been when's the last time we saw bullish signals on these things, whether you're talking Canopy, ACB, Tilray, Crone, you name your company. It's not, you might be a bull long-term, and that's a different conversation, but how are you that today? Because these things are weak, breaking support nonstop. And it's not like, hey, it's been a rough week. Well, guess what? It's been a rough year. So, it's not just this week. These things have shown tremendous amount of weakness. No real reason technically right now to believe today's the day that they turn it all around.
Just a mindset thing here. And Cody, I hope you're not sensitive. You're strong, right? Yes, you're not a snowflake. All right.
And
don't melt in the Hawaiian sun out there.
You're right. There's nothing left to really short on this one, but there are others that have plenty left to go.
No, the short interest terrible. In fact, almost all of these are hard to borrow. Thank goodness for the options market, because at least on some of them, if you do want to get negative delta, there are some option potential plays in there with some of these companies. I know Tilray has great option chains, by the way. Same thing with Kronos.
Oh my God, look at that thing.
Yeah.
There's plenty of things to be shorting.
Yeah.
Like they don't have to stop at $2. They don't have to stop it. They can keep going down.
Oh, dude, that's the thing. I mean, there is no such thing as, well, it's just dirt cheap, isn't it? Or there's intrinsic value. These companies don't make profit yet. We're not talking about dividend payers or banks that have assets or whatever it is, Frank, or a real estate company.
Right.
These are marijuana companies that were up where they were based on belief, based on hope.
Yep. Based on
right?
hype.
Yep, based on hype. So now here we are down at the bottom. Who knows where the bottom's going to be? It's going to be interesting to watch. Guys, let's get into our questions here today. I'm having fun.
Absolutely. Got a couple in the chat though, Tim, that we brought, that we have, that some of our team members brought up. Mohammed brings up AT&T.
I like how he broke down that the T was AT&T. He was
I appreciate that.
I appreciate that,
I
Mohammed.
absolutely do.
Speaking of a dividend payer, is there a better large cap dividend play than AT&T?
It's a good one. There might be a better, but they're still really good.
That could be a long discussion, but yeah, AT&T is a good company, largest in the world. They pays a dividend, consistent uptrend year over year.
Dude, 5% dividend, even at this price.
I don't know how you can argue against AT&T.
I mean, it's a dividend play. It's a position trade. Could you swing trade it? You could, but I don't know why you would choose to do that.
People will pay their phone bill before they pay rent. There are people out there who are, they will pay their phone bill. Like that is the number one thing they're going to focus on. Like,
yeah, and AT&T is a beautiful chart. I agree with Tim. It's a little easier for more of a position style of a trade than a directional swing trade, but that doesn't mean it's not a respectable candidate. They just don't move generally pretty quickly. Although, do you remember when we had them on the I don't know, stock or option report about 2 months ago? They came within 2 cents of the stop loss, and then that big jump happened, that big gap, a gap and run. I'd written them off for good. So you're never done. You're never done till you're done. But I do like where you're at on these, Mohammed. I think aggressively, you could argue that today is a confirmation candle. I think when we're that close, we might as well get above resistance, get above the breakout point.
Yeah, I want the high base
because we're so close. If we're a little further away, we could maybe talk the pullback. But for 12 cents, I'm estimating there, we get the confirmation of the break. So I think it's a better. I agree with Tim though. I think this is a much easier thing to work with from a more of a position style than a swing style trading.
Yeah. I'm right there. In fact, when I think dividend and I think good position trade, there's many different things: utilities, real estate, Verizon, Coca-Cola, ExxonMobil types. But AT&T is always on my mind. It would be a good discussion, Cody, like on a would you rather next week. Get us a list of the big dividend payers out there, and let's have a discussion about which ones we think are best.
That'd be fun. Let's see. We also had a Diz, Cody.
Disney with their Disney.
Are you going to watch the new Star Wars streaming?
Mandalorian? I absolutely. I'm probably going to pull the trigger this weekend and go ahead and.
I'm going to watch it.
So I'm going to wait till it's done. I'm a binge watcher, so I'll wait till the season is done and then.
Oh, I didn't know that. They didn't release the whole thing?
No, they're doing it. I don't know if it's exactly weekly. I think now they have 2 episodes released. But yeah, they're kind of doing the drip method as opposed to the Netflix dump it all on at once.
Yeah.
And I'm a binge watcher, so homie don't play that. So I'll wait until it's all done.
Mohammed in the chat just said for a bearish strategy. I don't see a bearish play here unless you're counter trend trading, and we never suggest to counter trend trade. That is a difficult thing to do, and it's very easy.
I guess in the tops is tough. I'm not going to try.
I'm not going to do anything bearish.
For me, it's you go with the trend. So Disney, I mean, that was a crazy response. I think it might have been Austin. I saw in the clubhouse. Austin, he traded at some point. You go Disney, go. He didn't get into the beginning, it sounds like, but he had a heck of a day. So I didn't trade the day that 10 million, over 10 million. I guess the numbers expectations were 8 million by year's end of subscribers. So day one, crushing the expectations by 20%. Not a bad deal. A pullback would be an interesting opportunity. Needs something to happen.
Pull back all the way back to 140.
Let me play devil's advocate here for a second, guys. I got to throw a question out to you. Pull back to 140, Cody. Didn't mean to cut you off. Would be good. Pullback, pivot, trigger, doji. Absolutely. I can see it too. Do you ever counter trend trade?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Cody?
I have, but I wouldn't teach it.
Yeah. What about
and also my counter trend trading isn't something like this. A counter trend trade that I would take would be Forex trading on the day, and even then it's quick, it's in and out. I wouldn't do it as a swing trade. I do it as a day trade.
Sure. There's a couple of chart patterns that I'm willing to play counter to the current position or trend. I don't know if you're going to call them counter trend, but Frank, let's say you got an earnings play where a company is set to move up or down 6%, and it gaps down 5%, and I see an intraday strength or a pivot or confirmation. I might come in and do a bull put spread to fade the volatility. But that's super advanced stuff, right?
Yeah, and that's not. Yeah, I wouldn't call that counter trend trading.
Now
I could call it volatility play.
Yeah, you're taking the volatility out of it. As volatility comes out and starts to crush, you're going to pull that, and you're going to use the direction, to your advantage.
Yep.
But
I think the reality is, if you're a counter trend trader, you're probably doing it based off volatility advantages or day trading advantages. Don't you think so, Frank?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, trends are strong. Trends are strong.
Yeah, I'm with you. And then there was a couple more. I think
we had Gild, G-I-L-D.
Teresita, there you are.
Hello, Teresita. Good to see you.
Yeah,
that is a messy chart.
Yeah, kind of in a range, in a strong. I mean, healthcare has been really strong. We are kind of in a range, and for me, when we're in the middle of something, and I'm thinking as a directional trader, I'm not going to try to swim with it. If just think about risk reward, if coming back to the chart, if you would, Cody, to feel comfortable.
Sorry, I just had to check something.
Yep, no problem. I'd want my stop loss way down there in the 61 range. And so right now my risk is going to be really high. Now, if we approach that support zone and start to see some signals, we can have a different conversation, because my support zone would still be around 61 for my stop loss.
Yeah. Don't you think this is a dividend play? I mean, look at the new trend. I mean, it's more of a dividend play for me. Their earnings per share year over year have been going down for 4 years in a row. The company's stock price has not been bullish now. Cody, pull that back a little bit. When was the last time you would have called this a bull trend? Give me a weekly.
Yeah, I got to go pretty far out to call. No, got to keep going.
It's been years. They haven't had year over year earnings growth since 2015, guys.
Yeah, so that's the bull trend.
Good times. And when those trends start happening again, we'll go. But I mean, go back to where we are now. I mean, look at all that support that they have in that $62.
Tons of support. Well, because they pay 4% dividend, Frank.
That's impressive dividend. So I mean, that's kind of Tim to right. More of position style, and as Coach Mark will say, when we're trying to do that, let's get to where we're close to that support, right, and start looking for things at that perspective. Now, you could argue that we're not that far away, but there's a ton of choppy stuff above it. So probably would side with Tim on this one, on that side of it.
Yeah.
And I think one more we had, I don't know, Kirk, was that IR or LR? LR, I believe it's LR.
Ingersoll Rand, maybe an IR.
Yeah, see, that's what I was thinking was IR, but
I think it's IR.
Okay, there you go.
Nice little pullback. That's not a bad
pull that pullback. Pivot. Doji on the confirmation with light volume on a Friday. This is tricky. This is tricky because some rules, even step system rules, would have you in already. I personally would not be in yet, just based on the price action, the volume, the momentum, the fact that the market's up big and this one is not. It's just this sector is not moving as strong as some of the other areas of the market today. Frank, with this whole green heat map and the market hitting all-time highs, I'm playing breakouts, not pullbacks today.
Yeah, I would agree. And now I would put the caveat: upward movement on Monday. I could
100%.
risk reward notwithstanding, as we'd have to obviously see that. I could get behind it. If we look at an intraday, it doesn't look like it's broken out of the little intraday downward trend that it's had just yet.
Yeah,
and so you can kind of see. So what we basically want to do is turn that frown upside down, get through that trend, probably doing us a favor in some ways.
100%.
Going into. So I could definitely see this being interesting on Monday or Tuesday.
It might even be on a report, by the way. It could easily make the reports. We'll see. But a trigger at 129, Frank, don't you think that's a new entry?
That's where we can start talking. Absolutely. Even better if we kind of work into it, pull back, and then break it would be even better. So that's a really interesting pullback, Kirk. Appreciate that one. We might steal that one. So just a couple of things before we move on, Tim, that I ran into, seeing some nice breakout candidates in some of the auto parts stores like O'Reilly, ORLY, and an AutoZone, AZO, both pretty expensive stocks, not the greatest option plays. They're a little easier to trade stock wise.
What did you say O'Reilly was?
ORLY.
O'Reilly.
So had a big pop and run on earnings, and there we go. Earnings
Beautiful.
happens, great response, taking some time. Let's digest this, see if we can get through that top. Not happened yet, may never happen.
Would
But
you
I,
call that a little cup and handle in there? Is that
I
what that
think you
is?
could call that a little cup and handle. So I've been debating between
That's
them.
an espresso cup right there.
Yeah, it is. Now look at AutoZone, because here's the debate for me. It's probably one or the other, assuming both were to trigger. I think if one triggers, the other one does. They tend
What's
to do that.
AutoZone's?
AZO.
AZO.
Now, AutoZone is a little more my style. A nice clean top that's developed over a year now. Consolidation underneath that resistance for a week and a half.
Earnings.
We do have some time that there. You're absolutely right, Cody. There's going to be that is a factor. I really like this chart, by the way. If this breaks, I would expect good movement, but probably not enough time before earnings to get the movement that I would expect it to. But very interesting breakout candidates over there in the auto parts. AAP kind of on the other side, they had a big earnings miss last week and are kind of hanging at support. If you're a support, support type player, they've been dancing there.
They're actually had a good day today.
Yeah, they're moving up today. Yeah, they are. That's where the money's going. So if you like support more than breaks, there you go. So some interesting things out there. I was pleasantly surprised the amount of candidates I've been able to find about halfway through my prep for next week. So should be fun. Should be a fun scouting report meeting.
I love it. And one quick chart while we get into questions. Give me a chart on XLV. You know, when we brought up some of these companies, I started thinking about healthcare as well. I don't know where we're going to rank this one, boys, but this one might be one of the harder ones we're going to have to make a decision on. It broke out big. I know we don't like to make radical moves here, Frank. It was down, I think, at the 30 last week, if I remember right. I'll have to check that. But here we are now hitting an all-time high, and we're breaking out of the resistance for the whole year. That's a bullish chart.
These are strong too. These are really, really strong. We're seeing tremendous things running. Got Humana just as an interesting one. Some of the healthcare plans, Humana, I thought was looking the nicest for potentially new things. So many of these things have ran with this monster run that's been going on. We had that little pullback opportunity early last week, and if we didn't take it in healthcare, we missed out.
I agree with that.
Tremendous strength. There's still going to be some interesting movers. I thought healthcare. I thought Humana was an interesting one. You've got DXCM, another one that after earnings, consolidation. There's still some out there, but most of these are flying pretty high, as the breakout on the ETF would suggest. We've seen a lot of upward movement. So if you're not comfortable with the whole buy high, sell higher, which not everyone is. I think we should be comfortable with the notion of that. Might be looking at needing some pullbacks if you're more of a pullback trader, because there's not a ton out there right now in this space. I did go pretty thoroughly through healthcare this morning.
Yeah. Real quick, by the way, there are 7 stocks on the stock and options report that are triggering just today. If you're looking for trade ideas, I mean, guys, we have trade ideas every week on our stock and options report. I just put in a 15-day trial link. If you're a pro member, you're already using the reports. There's no question about it. That's one of the best values we bring at Tackle Trading, as well as Cody's humor. There's no question there.
Of course.
Emily came to your defense, by the way. She thought I was picking on you. I don't know if you saw it in the chat. She said, quit picking on Cody.
I did. I'm working on my dad jokes.
And then number 2 is, guys, 15-day trial. If you're not a pro member, go and get it. There's 7 different candidates triggering, including stocks like SIX and TDS, Spotify, Mylan, and also Microsoft on the options report. But Cody, you had a couple of questions curated, I believe. Let's not do every one of them. Let's do maybe 2 of them.
Okay, I can do that. Tim, did you bump your mic or something? Because it got all different sounding.
Did it get all funky here? I'm on my
Am I the only one hearing that? Or Frank, are you hearing that? Guys in the chat, y'all hearing something different?
It sounds normal to me.
Oh, sounds different on my end.
He's mad at me. He's mad at me.
I mean, I can always just mute Tim or boot him out. So I do have that power.
He's the Tony Reale of this show. There's no question. Just click that mute button. I do miss that show. Go ahead, young man.
Let me reshare with the entire screen over on screen 1. All right. So here we got a question right here. Coaches, during these times at all-time highs in the market, I wonder if there are many bargains out there to start long-term investment positions, no trading. Of course, we can always do boomerang trades, but at high levels, not even 45, 60 days out, option delta at 0.1 or below reach bargain strike prices. Perhaps investors simply need to sit and wait for pullbacks and exercise patience. What's your opinion?
That's a good question. Now, first of all, Larry out of Houston, a Hall of Fame trader for legacy education, veteran trader, very profitable trader, very consistent trader. So this is not coming from a beginner. This is
Oh, not
coming
at
from
all.
one of our community members who's been doing this a long time. This is a tricky one because you look at a company. Oh, Cody, go to the chart. I'll give you a couple examples of these boomerang style trades. Bring up GDX. Can you get bargain basement prices on GDX right now? I don't know. I mean,
No.
this is a deeper pullback. You're down at $26. It's been down for a few months. It's the gold miner ETF. So on certain products, I mean, you might be able to, and click on the trade tab. Let's do 30, 60. Let's look at the credits on the options. 55-day option, even all, or is that a 35-day option all the way up to December? I mean, Frank, even the 25 strike price is only going to give you 15 cents, and that's if you get the ask fill, right? The bid fill would be 14 cents. So $14. What's the margin on that, Cody?
I think my margin right now is set
$350.
350. Yeah.
4%. Now, I'm never going to shake my head at 4% in 35 days. Don't get me wrong. But if you get assigned on the boomerang, and the boomerang system, by the way, is a fantastic way to approach markets in your retirement account and your trading account. And if you don't know what that is, go and look at the commodity reports from June, July, and August. Coach Mark did about an 8-part series, which was incredible.
It was good stuff.
Definitely should be reviewed. But are you getting bargain basement at the 200 MA in a downtrend? No. You're not. It's not bargain basement. AMD, very popular boomerang stock. But these chip makers that have been running, I mean, are you going to get a credit $25? No. Are you going to get a credit at the yearly low at $16? Go to the trade tab here, Cody. Let's even look at the option chain. And
what we said, what would you say? $16? You can't even sell it. $16.
There's no money at bargain basement. I'm talking the yearly low because we've had such an incredible year. We're up like 70%. There. So you go all the way to 25, there's only 1 to 3 cents. You go to 30, there's 7 or 8 cents. So I'm with Larry. I think if you're a naked put trader, the market's hitting an all-time high, you've got a conundrum here. And you can go and hunt and fish for some of those specialty plays. And there are retracements on our reports every week, Frank, but you might not be getting the cushion that somebody who's looking for bargain basement's looking for. How do you answer Larry's question?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I agree with what you're saying. A few ideas. I mean, one thing we can do is go look at some of these stocks that were beat up on earnings recently. That and maybe today isn't the day to do it. You think an AMD or whoever it might be, and look for entries there because those prices could potentially be the quote unquote bargain. So that could be one way to do it, but that's development, right? You're not doing that the day of the earnings gap or anything along those lines. Certain areas, we're starting to see some deeper pullbacks in some of the REITs. Some of the REITs, like say an AMT or a Well, we're definitely seeing some deeper pullbacks than we've seen for quite some time. So there's potential in those areas maybe, but I mean, at the end of the day, Larry says it best, and Larry doesn't need me to tell him this. Patience is always the key. So to whatever the question is, right? We want to get what we want, and there's always going to be an opportunity. It doesn't have to be today. We usually want it to be today, right? I wanted AutoZone to break out on Monday. It didn't care. It wanted a Tuesday. It didn't care. May never happen, but there will be another breakout that will occur. So patience really is the name of the game. There's always somebody, stocks that have been beat up, for one reason or another, still need to get those technical signals, I would argue. But across the board, yeah, it's tough to be a value investor at all-time highs. So.
Well, I think
I agree.
A, Larry answered his own question, and B, Frank just touched on it. And I think it's very important is, there's something out there, because when real estate was running and everyone was saying, man, when do I get an opportunity to get some real estate and, to get in on this action? Well, looks like that one's on its way. So you may not have the opportunity in one sector, but you can go look at another one and see if there's opportunity there. Yep. So you can get your long-term investments, but they just may not be in the sector that you desire right now.
I'm with you, brother. All right, next, last one. One more question.
All right, the other question I had was, where was it? Here we are. All right. I stayed true to my cash flow condors for almost 2 years now, but this is the first time that I'm actually about buying a Debicon instead. Hear me out. The last 8 condors have been successful. With each successful one, the odds of an unsuccessful one increases, but the rut is still at resistance, and there's plenty of room to run either direction. Whether it breaks out or runs down, I wouldn't care with the Debicon. Not to mention volatility is way down, which also supports a Debicon. Any thoughts on this? Well, my first thought, because Tim, we actually talked about this one in pre-production, is this statement right here, the odds of an unsuccessful one increase, not necessarily true, because it's the same thing as a coin flip. So the coin flip is always the odds. So every time you do it. Now, our personal bias, we start getting more nervous. You keep flipping that coin and you keep getting heads. Eventually you're like, oh, the next one's going to be tails. But the odds are still the same every time. Mm-hmm. Now, the odds of, 9 consecutive in a row, those odds are changing. But the odds of the actual condor itself don't change. So my first thought is that one. My second thought is, you said it's been a very successful strategy for 2 years in a row. Why hurt a good thing?
Justin is he's falling victim to a fallacy in mathematics, and Cody, you nailed it right there, is that just because something's been good for a long time, somehow it changes the odds of the next one. That's not true. You're basing probability based on the math in the market today. It doesn't matter if you just made money 25 times in a row or you lost money 25 times in a row. If the math is the math now, you have to assess it on the current conditions. And the other thing I would say, Justin, is if you go Debicon, I'm open-minded to a veteran trader. Justin's worked hard. He's a back tester. He's
Absolutely.
a rule-based trader. I'm open-minded to a veteran trader using their judgment, Frank, to make a different call on the market. But is that a system you've perfected? Or are you just flipping it saying, okay, it was working this way for a long time. I was betting on black and now I'm going to bet on red just to bet on red. I don't know. I'm with Cody. I kind of would scratch my head at that a little bit.
And if anything, if you want to try a Debicon and it's something new to you, I would, say start paper trading. And then on your live account that's been working for you for 2 years, put it on another cash flow condor and let the system keep working.
And I'll even throw a very, very advanced pro tip out there. Consider when you're in a situation like this, Justin, instead of getting away from your old system, find a new system that will help you play it both ways at the same time. Mm-hmm. You can put on the 65-day condor and put on a 15-day Debicon. I know a lot of traders that do debit spread short term to hedge off the gamma and delta risk while they still have their cash flow. And the last bit of advice, Justin, when you're making money, stay bored. It's okay.
It's okay to be dull, my friend.
It's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
It's okay to be the guy they won't take to Vegas because it's too boring.
That's right. Hey, all right. There's a little jab there. It's okay. Did you want to go to Vegas, Frank? I didn't even think you would even want to go, my friend.
No, I enjoyed hanging back here with Tyler and taking over the halftime report. I would have had fun I would have liked to have just been to Vegas, but to go, I probably would have made up.
He held down the fort, okay? And he enjoyed it. Don't let him get to you, Tim.
Oh, we had a good time. I enjoyed it. I'd never done a show with Tyler before. And so we got to do 2 in a row. So it was a lot of fun. It looked like you guys were having fun too. So
man,
two
if
places
I was
at
at my
once.
computer, I would have sent you the No Justice intro.
See, there you go. There you go.
There's 2 last things I want to talk about. You can get out whatever you want. Number 1, am I going to make it through No Shave November when I can't grow a beard, Frank? This is
I did you a favor.
This is not a good look.
Stay with it. I buzzed down this week to keep it fair. I was getting real rough looking. As anyone who was here live could probably attest. I don't like your chances, but I'm pulling for you.
I'm 40 years old. I can't grow a beard in between my sideburns and my little soul patch here.
Mine's very light on the sides. It's there, but I have the benefit of dark hair.
Yeah.
So, and actually, the thing that I can't grow is everyone thinks I have this like buzzed. I can't grow hair right here.
That's not intentional. That's not
intentional. I can't
I'm with
grow
you.
hair right here.
By the way, No Shave November, if you don't know what that is, it's to raise cancer awareness. And as a team, we've all decided to kind of finish the month with No Shave November and see what we can do. So if you see a scruffy, there is a reason and a good cause behind it. But even the more important thing I want to talk about here before we finish the show, women in trading tonight, guys, if you are a female and you are a trader, attend the event. You have to register for it to get the invite. The link, I just dropped it in the chat.
I was just trying to go get it.
And let me show my
yeah,
screen real quick. You'll see it says Women in Trading live webinar, November 15th, 2019 at 8:30 Eastern. And here is the link again. If you can't get in, email team@tackletrading.com and we'll make sure we get you the registration link over there. Coach Emily's going to be hosting that.
Is the pre-registration to make sure that they can filter out any guys that try to sneak in there? Is that what that's for?
I think what it is so that people can invite women in their life if they're maybe not a trader yet, because this is a free event, not a pro member event. If we knew it was just for pro members, we could kick the link out. But we want to encourage learning this business to everybody, Frank.
Absolutely. And I know, I don't get to go to the Women in Trading group, but I have my spies, don't think I don't. I know that they have a lot of fun in there and get a lot of stuff done. So, it's awesome what Emily's doing. And I know you guys will get a lot of things done here today. So if you are a woman in trading,
Kelsey, but then she would just complain about what it's like listening to me talk about trading.
Yeah, that's why women needed to be around other women probably, as well as the coaches here. We love the event. We support the event. We love the idea. And Coach Emily, you kill it tonight. You crush it. Absolutely. Guys, long show, but I had a lot of fun. Thank you, Frank. And thank you, Cody.
Great to be here, guys. Thank you for having me, Halftime Crew. As always, I'll see you on Friday.
And we're done. Peace out. We'll see you on Monday, guys.
Have a great weekend, everyone.